hey, and welcome. Yes, welcome to the Shake Up with Dr. Kid. You know what time it is? It is 6 p.m. Hey, listen, I just lied to you. It's about 6:03. So forgive me, okay? Don't take me to anybody. No, don't lock me up. 6:03. But listen, it's Monday. It's the Shake Up. The Shake Up means if you don't shake things up, things stay sedentary. All the good stuff's at the bottom. So you shake it up, make sure you can get everything that you try to get out of it. And relationships are like that. Life is like that. There's nothing wrong with a little bit of shake up now and then. It helps you to grow, see yourself in a different way. And that's what we try to do. We shake up here. We don't change things. We just reframe things. We just put things in a different light, different ways, so you can see things in another way. And it's always good to see things in another way. I just want to thank you so much. We're so glad to know that you're online with us as you are every week. We just depend on you to be here. You know, like every podcast really needs people like you. Why? Because you know what you do, right? You know exactly what you got to do in order to keep these shows moving along. You got to do four things: like, follow, share, and subscribe. Like, follow, share, and subscribe, not just to me, but to all the other programs and good podcasts that are out there. They got some really good information. Like them, follow, share, and subscribe. All right. And then if you would like to be on the show, just email drkitspeaks@gmail.com, and my office persons will get in touch with you and set it up for you. Now, we'd love to have you on camera, but some of you don't want to be on camera. You gotta hide your face. So you don't so people don't tag you when they see, hey, you was on that podcast, right? No, it's not like that. So anyway, we'd like to have you on camera, but if you'd rather be off camera, we just take you like that anyhow. So just relax and just enjoy this evening. The snow is gone from where we are, and it's starting to warm up again. And we're going to try to see if we can't make things just a little bit warmer for you here this evening. Okay, so thank you for those that are on and those that are coming on. Great stuff. All right, and so now here we are. Got a good show for you tonight. I got this. It's going to be high energy. This person has got a lot of energy, got a whole lot of good information. So you want to be here and tell everybody we got a really good show for you. So just be here. All right. And so at this time, I'm going to bring my guest on tonight. Oh, there she is in all of her beauty. How are you, Mia? How are you doing? Oh, I think you're muted somehow.
Look at me.
See that? You just started out just messing up, didn't you? No.
I was hoping to get it started like that so that
is that what it was?
Get the rough parts out at the beginning.
So anyway, you did really good. Listen, welcome here. Welcome. Listen, I'm so glad that you just agreed to just grace us with your presence. I know you're a very busy young woman, kids all over the place, and just doing stuff, and your husband's trying to make sure that they don't disturb you, So if they do, hey, listen, it's the kids' world these days, So be okay. We're gonna be okay. We're gonna be just okay. But again, at serious level now, I really do thank you for just consenting to be on here this evening. We know that you do have a lot of really good info that we're going to share. It's going to be just a free talk, just no trick questions, no multiple choice questions, no nothing like that. It's just we're just having a good talk this evening. So just relax and just do what you normally do. I'm going to ask you now to do what you can do better than anybody else, and that is to introduce yourself. And tell us whatever you want to tell us about yourself, and then tell us what you are going to talk about.
Ooh, okay. Well, first of all, Dr. Kit, just want to say thank you so much to you, to your dear family, your amazing family. I consider it a huge privilege and honor to be able to spend this time with you. And listen, I am down for trick questions, multiple choice. I'm down for it all, okay? Because I am now okay with saying, I don't know the answer. I don't know. I'm okay with that now.
You are. Hey, listen.
Yes, and I
Well,
mean,
listen, listen. Don't ask me any trick questions because I don't know if I'm
okay,
there yet. Okay, so
okay. Okay. Fair game, fair game, fair game. I love your sign in the back because it says the fear of failure is the enemy of success. And me, I'm overcoming perfectionism and all of those things. And part of you asked me to say who I am, and my family, they would call me Mimi, but here, Mia Pyle. And I am a person that loves God with all their heart. And I believe what has blessed me to be here, part of why I'm here, is because of my story of having crashed, had a mental health crash that was so bad that I found myself in a behavioral health hospital. And
man,
this is after being a leader in a major nonprofit organization, traveling to over 12 different countries, seeing people baptized by the thousands. And
wow.
yet, there was a point in my life not that long ago, a few years back, where everything was shaken up, like your show says. And I found myself no longer wanting to be here, wearing the blue jumpsuit they put on you when you go to the crazy house, as people call it.
Hmm.
And God had a lot for me to unlearn, and I'm still unlearning. And so, yeah, that's me.
Oh, my. So,
Yeah,
so you had this episode in
yeah,
your life. So, can you talk about what life was like before, and then I don't know if you can talk about if you want to talk about during, and then coming out of that, those three.
absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely. I'm just so grateful to talk about this. I'm so glad for shows like yours
yeah,
because I believe that our planet is seriously on the brinks of a stupendous crisis. People say that, right?
definitely.
And you can see it especially in the mental health realm. And I'm so glad to have crashed because I didn't realize I was wearing a mask, right? And so when God shakes things up, he allows the mask of pretension to come off,
Yes, he does.
especially especially when you don't know you're wearing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so what I can just say, about me, I actually I didn't grow up Christian. I didn't, I would be considered unchurched. And I do remember though, my mom taught us to pray. And so I remember God from a young age. I would talk to God and I felt that God talked to me, and I loved God, but all of that would change. There was a trauma that happened in my life. One of my brother's friends that wasn't a real friend. He abused me. We'll put it that way. And I remember at that point, my faith was the first time my faith being shaken because I had believed that God was like a superhero, like Batman, you know, bad things don't happen to people, especially children. And, I believe that when you love God, that means your life is supposed to automatically look a certain way. And because my family was very poor, I mean, we went to the laundromat not to wash our clothes, but to get water to wash our bodies.
Right.
So, on top of that, I looked at my life and I said, well, God can't be real because I'm not having that same quality of life I believe you're supposed to have when you believe in this superhero God, you know? And it was not until I got to college when I would encounter God again in a more intimate way. I remember Christians would come up to me and they would, how people give you tracts or, they want to invite you to their church. It had some
Mm-hmm.
anger and bitterness. And so I would tell them, I would ask my hard questions. Why does God let bad things happen to people? And, why does this happen and that happen? They couldn't give me an answer. And so I would just write them off as, see, there goes another Christian that doesn't really know what they believe, you know? And in college, the place where I went, and you just cut me off if I'm going to, okay?
No,
But
no, no.
you
Listen,
interrupt me because I'll just talk and,
listen. I'm not even. Listen,
okay,
I'm not even
story
here.
time. Okay, okay. So story time, story time. I was in college. There's a story. It's a true story. I'm in college now, And God has a way of meeting you where you are. And it's so funny, Dr. Kit, because even though I didn't believe in God anymore and I felt like, all of that was just, fables, and I still was in the choir because I like to sing. And so this school that I went to, they wanted you to go to chapel. Chapel was mandatory. And for me, I'm like, oh, here goes these Christians forcing you to go to church again. But it was there at the chapel service that there would be a lady, and she would be given a testimony about her daughter who had gone astray, and she's praying for her daughter relentlessly. And then this lady goes into deep praise of God. Like, she's just worshiping God there on the stage. And me, I'm sitting there really cynical, like, okay, here we go. And she starts to talk about how even though she had been praying for her daughter was found dead in a trash can. And for me, I lost it. Dr. Kit, I think I could have gotten up and cursed out everybody in the chapel as I ran out of there, made a beeline for my dorm room, and and I got in my room and I started just yelling at God and angry with God. And I'm like, Lord, if you're real, like, how could you let this happen to this woman? How could you allow her to experience this? And even though I was angry with God, Dr. Kit, I saw that this woman had something that I needed. This woman had a faith and a belief in God that transcended her prayers being answered the way she thought they should.
Mm, mm, mm.
It transcended the horrific nightmare that came true. And she was there to worship God and to testify about him. And that was something I didn't have. That trumped my questions. It trumped my Batman God, you know? And so, I mean, I'll make this story a little shorter and just say from then I remember hearing God say, the pain that you've gone through, it is not a waste. I do not waste your pain, and I'm going to use it to help many people. And so I just thought I was supposed to have a happy ever after life after that. And it was for a long, long time until more tragedies would hit. And that is when I would find myself in a behavioral health hospital because I couldn't reconcile that question that kept coming up, how could God allow this and what will God allow? And I believe it had a lot to do with bad theology that I would pick up along the way.
Okay. Well, wow. Listen, I really want to thank you. Okay, hold on. All right, that's 6'5". All right. All right.
Right.
So now here's a question. Here's a word. We're going to address this. So why do you believe that God allowed bad things to happen to good people? I am curious. See, now you raised a whole lot of stuff already. We ain't even got 50 minutes of this. So you just go on.
Yeah. Okay. You want me to go there now?
The question is yours. The question
Okay,
is,
let's
the
go. Okay.
floor is
So thank you so much, 65240.
yours. Yeah.
I love that question because so I believe that God has an answer for every person, but it may not be what you think. Okay. So I don't believe God answers all of our questions or all of the questions when we want them to be answered. I
Right.
believe that some questions are answered now. Like, I'm going to share with you my answer to that question for me. But I
Mm.
just want to give that caveat that just because this was the answer God gave me, it may not be good enough for you. Okay. So another horrible thing that happened is that I would actually have a family member, and this is what actually landed me in the crazy house or the behavioral health hospital. I would have a family member be abducted. So I lived in a bad neighborhood, if you can't tell. I'm laughing not from happiness, but it's just a response. But I would have a family member be abducted. That person was raped, left for dead on the side of the street, and we got them back. However, seeing them heal was very horrific for us. And I remember questioning whether or not they should have lived through this experience because watching them survive was like torture. And for a long time, I just kind of tucked their experience out of the back of my mind. I'm now in the behavioral health hospital. We're going to come back to that. Let me go straight to this question. One of the things God showed me as I've been wrestling with Him is that he is not a rapist
Mm,
like the people that harmed me and the people that harmed my sister. God gives people the power of choice, and he does not force your choice like a rapist would, right? Where
mhm,
you just have to do what they say regardless or else. God gives people opportunity to make choices, and then he is able to, with that choice, give you the best outcome if you will allow. And so God showed me that in the case of my sister's abduction, in the case of even the things that happened to me along this life's journey, that he is not a rapist, he is not an abductor like those people. And so because he, with the power of choice comes all the things that can come with it. Like you had the choice to come on this show tonight. God didn't force you here, but he guided you here, right?
mhm,
And
mhm,
so it is the same with people that do us harm. And it's the same with people that do harm in the world. And because of the faith that I have, I believe, as God has shown me, there will come a day when people will have to answer for what they've done in this life and in the life to come, especially if they do not turn from the evil that they've done.
mhm, mhm.
So I hope that answer is clear. Like that was one answer God gave me, that I'm not a rapist. I don't force people, not even for their good. I don't force you.
Right, right. Yeah, absolutely. We know that God gave us, He created us with free will.
Yes.
And what we do with that free will is all up to us because the freedom to will is right inside here. You know, but God, and I like the way you're putting this here. Talking about the free will because, and you said it earlier on that sometimes God does not answer the prayers we pray the way we want the prayers to be answered. And then you said, well, because of that, it has the capacity when God does not answer the prayer the way you want to be answered to shake your faith.
Absolutely.
Shake your faith, which means that if your faith is not strong and grounded, okay, you then begin to say, well, what is it about this God, who I thought was a Batman God, this omnipotent God, omnipresent God, who can do all of these things, and yet he allows bad things to happen to, and I'm going to put it this way, he allows bad things to happen to innocent young children. Now,
Yes.
that's enough for you to want to have a conversation with God about saying, you know, what is it about you? We pray to you, for protection, but yet in your omnipresence, you're everywhere, watching things go down before they went down, and yet innocent little children like Mia got whatever happened. She was
Sure.
abused. Do you ever think about not that theoretically, but do you ever think about your abuse, say emotionally and experientially? You don't have, however you answer, that's fine, because that can be very traumatic, or recreation of a trauma, depending on how much you have worked it through.
Yes, but I love that question, Dr. Kit, because I believe that's why we're here. I
Yeah.
believe that, the viewers, they want to know, like, how do they get through it? Because I know I'm not the only one statistically, right?
Right.
Statistically, I'm not the only woman or man that would have had this experience. And I want to talk about that, but I did want to also add a biblical reference to what we're speaking about God answering questions,
Hmm.
why God allows bad things. Biblically, there's the story of John the Baptist. When we go back and look at that story, I think it's John chapter 11. No, that's Mary. No, it's not John chapter 11, but when you go back and look at the story of John the Baptist, and he has been imprisoned, and later we will find that he will become a martyr, he will be beheaded, right, for the cause of Christ. Okay, there is a point in John's experience where literally he asks people to ask Jesus our question: are you the one, or do we search for another? Like, are you the one that we should be expecting to help us? Because when he's hearing about Jesus, it looks like Jesus isn't doing anything. Like, the people are in bondage to the Romans. The Romans are raping the women, they're stealing their property, they're taking their stuff. And it looks like all Jesus is doing is sitting around here eating with publicans and sinners and hanging out with the very people that John has been trained to believe Jesus shouldn't be around. And so when he's asking him the question, are you the one or do we search for another? This is an issue of faith that John is experiencing. He is questioning whether or not he should still believe in God, you know? And the way Jesus answers his question is so interesting because he tells John, he says, go back and tell him this, but he shows the people that asked. He sees people getting fed, he sees the dead being raised, he sees people being healed, the hungry fed, if I haven't said that already.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then he says, but blessed are those who are not offended in me. And I really love that because that was the answer that John needed. See, I thought Jesus would have been like, John, what's wrong with you? You're my cousin. Didn't you hear God from heaven say, this is my beloved son and who I'm well pleased? What's wrong with you? You know, like, haven't I done enough for you to believe in me despite what's going on? But that's not how Jesus answered. Like, he gave him examples that would help him keep his faith, you know?
Absolutely. Hold on, 6'5". We're coming right back. I'm just wondering what his disciples were praying for. I'm sure his disciples were not praying for him to,
Be killed. Absolutely not.
to be killed. And so here again, how much do we hold God responsible in a way that make us think that He is not interested in our well-being when things don't happen the way we want it to happen? This woman gave a testimony about her child. You
Yes.
understand? And a woman who can give that testimony is a woman who I sure have been praying, but look what happened. And in church, every week we hear about people, testifying about some of the things that has happened to them. We pray about issues that people are going through, and sometimes we wonder because we're praying, praying, and then people die.
See, and that's the thing is thinking that because I prayed, it should go exactly the way that I wanted to go. And what I that valuable gift that that woman gave, which I couldn't appreciate at the time, is that she had the gift of God's presence, which at the time I would have started cursing, like, I don't want the presence, blank that. You know what I mean? I don't give a blank about no presence. But now, as I've been on this life's journey, I come to value more and more how sweet, how precious, how necessary it is to have the very presence of God in your life, no matter what. Because the truth is, Jesus also did not stop anything from happening to him. And
Right.
I'm so grateful because, I used to really be mad. I used to think that Christians were trying to control me by being like, you need to follow God. Look at all he's done for you. And my answer used to be, well, I didn't ask him. you know, I didn't ask him. I didn't ask to be born. I didn't ask for any of this. And so stop trying to make me be grateful for something I didn't ask for. Right? See, I
Mhm.
had a lot of anger. but 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 now as I learn to meditate on who Jesus is and how Jesus is, like, he came on this earth as a real person. Like, he was stripped butt naked. He was hung in front of all these people. He could have done something about that, but he didn't. Why? Why didn't Jesus stop his own suffering? Because with one thought, he could have wiped out every single person standing around. But
Mhm.
he does not exercise that type of power. And for me, in my personal meditation, which is another answer, why does God not stop these terrible things? It's because it is an opportunity for those of us who are willing to survive it to be of help to someone else. Because I don't know if you've ever been helped by somebody that doesn't know what in the world they're talking about because they've never been through it versus a person that has.
Hold on, hold it right there.
Yes, sir.
Nobody on the planet, I don't care I don't care how old they are. I don't care how many
Mm,
countries they. I don't care how many degrees they have. Nobody on the planet could ever go through what Mia has been through. It is
mm.
impossible, and I'm going to tell you why. Sometimes we get people saying that, "Oh, Harold, I know exactly what you've been through. I've been there myself." No, the behavior is not the same as the experience.
Exactly.
You
I see.
understand what I'm saying? I just need to throw that in there. Behavior is not saying. Go ahead with what you're
And
saying.
I'm glad you said that, because now when people leave this show, they should know that, like, when we're going to empathize with people, we can walk with them in a special way because we've been through something like what they've been through, but never the exact thing. And my help to the people that God has led my way has been so specific and significant for those people, because it resonates with them in a way that it wouldn't for someone who hadn't. And I'm not saying that people have to be going through the exact same thing in order to help people. That's not true either. However, there's a beauty in it. And when Jesus doesn't stop everything on the cross, I believe wholeheartedly it's so he could know how to help me.
Mm-hmm.
It's more about how could he help us who are going to go through terrible things. How could he be a very present help in the time of trouble unless he went through hell like we would go through?
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
What I'm thinking about that here is this. I agree with you, and I'm going to add something to that.
Okay.
You know, nobody grows without dealing with their challenges. Challenges are some of your best friends on the planet. They are not always welcomed. They're not pleasant, but it's like a, you go to the gym every day, and the only reason you get better at what you do is because you challenge your mediocrity from the day before, and you're always pushing, pushing, pushing. So I'm thinking that somehow Jesus might have said, you know, I need to find a way to give this person an experience that will make them grow the way
Yeah.
I want them to grow, the way they need to grow. But if they don't go through this, which they are trying to escape from, they're trying to escape from the very growth producing experience. And then when it happens, we think God has forgotten about us. But no, God saying, no, 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 no. You
Mhm.
need to go through this. And when you go through this, you will be a better person than what you had hoped to be. You know what I'm saying?
I love that. And can I jump in there with and say, because I honestly used to be upset at that too. Like, well, does it take all this for me to be a better person, Lord? And I know that you're not necessarily saying, you have to go through these horrible trials to become a better person. That's not, like that happens, but that's not necessarily the it, right? Um, what I love though is it makes me think about a story like with my sister. When she was abducted, the only person she wanted to talk to was me. Why? Because she knew what I had experienced. And to me, having gone through what I had experienced with the abuse from that friend, it made it totally worth it. Because here was my sister who was suffering to no end. And I was had the privilege to be able to just sit with her and be of comfort because she knew I'd been through something similar. Like, it's totally worth it to me that the women and the men, because yes, for the person on there, I'm forgetting his name, it has a six in it. Men do get abused, and I'm so grateful that I can speak to it, right? Because honestly, the things that I've gone through at this point, it's worth it to me because I'm able to be of some type of comfort to someone else who's suffering. I'm able to give them tools and strategies that I know work because I worked them when I felt like I'd lost my mind. And it makes it worth it. Like, I wouldn't take it away. I would not choose to not be poor because it helped me when I got on the mission field and I'm sleeping on the ground and having to take a bath once a week. I understood that experience. And I wouldn't take it away, and it wasn't just about Mia needs to become more mature. but it was comforting and helpful as I met the people that I was going to meet.
hmm hmm Yeah, now hold a second there, me. I'm going to come right back to that about you being mature, but no, really, it's fine. They put a question up there or a thought up there before the last one that went up, saying thanking you for recognizing that men get abused too.
Oh,
I'm
absolutely.
wondering if we can get that back up there in a moment. Okay, abused. Okay, fine. Yeah, thank you. Okay, we can work with that one. I think there was one before that, but that's okay if you can't go back to that. But Mia, it's not always about maturity.
Right.
It is a lot of people seem to think that listen, you just need to become mature. No, the word is, and I said it before, the word is you are having an experience. And the fact that you're having an experience, you cannot tell somebody about your experience the way you experience the experience. Because when you start to tell somebody about your experience, you're telling them a new experience about an old experience. That's what you're doing. And sometimes you can really embellish the new experience. Why are you going to embellish the new experience? Just so because as you're talking about the experience, okay, the the thoughts and the feelings will trigger you. So you don't want to do that in the presence of people. So you talk about it in another way. So it's not always about being mature. The question is, how can you handle that piece of yourself that in the past, okay, damaged you, and here you are now, so much older. People expect you to be, yeah, yeah, it's great. I can handle it. No, you can't always.
Good. That's true.
You can't always handle this. So, all right. Okay, so 1979 triggers. Lordy, my friend went through something similar this week. Oh, okay. You're gonna have to. I want you to take a look at this one because you're gonna. I want you to answer this weekend. I'm sharing this with her. I don't have the words, but God knew. Thank you so much. Now, Mia, that is fresh. That is fresh. Went through something similar to yours. Yours is historical, and she's
Oh,
going through something fresh. What do you have to tell this person? My friend went through something similar this weekend. What do you have to tell?
absolutely. So thank you so much for sharing. And I was at 1979 Tigress. Please forgive me if I'm saying it wrong. One of the biggest things that I think will be helpful is as God gives you opportunity, it's to apply something called algae. Okay. And so write this down: ALGEE. Okay. Not algae of the sea, but algae, ALGEE. Number one, because your friend has experienced something like this, it's going to be important for you, depending on the connection, to be assessing, is this person possibly suicidal, right? Because a lot of times when a trauma of this nature happens, the idea of living can seem like a burden. And so, literally, and this is a class that I teach, mental health first aid instruction. It teaches you how to do these things, but just very simply, as the opportunity arises, if you see them starting to act in ways that are not typical for them, which will probably happen, you can always ask them, how are you doing? How are you processing everything? And if they say things like, I'm just tired, I don't want to be here anymore, I don't want to get up, then you ask them the question simply, are you thinking about killing yourself? And a lot of people think that when you ask that question, that you're putting it on their mind, like, oh no, if I ask them, they're going to want to do it. But no, that's not the case. You're shining a light and making it, it's better that the person say, no, I can't believe you asked me that, versus it's hidden in their heart and they're thinking about it. And now they don't have an opportunity to express and get help. So that's the A, assess for risk of suicide or harm. L, it's going to be so critical for the people in his or her life right now to really listen without judgment. while also not making the person talk about the details. As a human being, we can be so curious, like, so what happened and where were you? And, sometimes when we ask people the wrong questions, we can get the wrong responses. And so, listening without judgment, good eye contact, good body posture, and just listening. And if they say, I wish I could just kill them right now, I'll go over their house and murder them, then of course, we're listening and we're asking God to give us wisdom on how can we direct this person in the right way while not shutting them down by being like, that's crazy, you can't do that, but how can we direct them in the right way? The G stands for give reassurance and information. And so you're listening to your friend as opportunity arises, and as they're talking to you, it's good to kind of tell them, you know I'm just so glad you told me. This is giving reassurance. I'm just so glad we can talk. I'm glad you can confide in me, and there's resources out there. And then you can share resources. And so the L, so A, assess for risk of suicide or harm. L, listen without judgment, no matter what they say. G, give them reassurance and information. And then E, you're going to definitely want to encourage them to get appropriate professional help.
Mhm.
So, depending on the case, if this is something that is known publicly, then they may already have like police and forensics working with them. However, if they don't, you want to encourage them to definitely see their primary care physician or to go to a clinic if they don't have one. Because, one, depending on the scenario, evidence needs to be collected, right? But if they don't want to press charges, they don't want to go through that, they still may need some medical assistance, right? Especially with it just happening. You want to make sure that they're okay physically. And so, encouraging appropriate professional help, like a primary care physician or a clinic, will be helpful. You also want to encourage the last E is encourage appropriate self help strategies. Encourage appropriate self help strategies. So, what are some things that may be helpful to that person that is going to help them get in a better headspace to deal with what has happened? A lot of times we see, and I can say this even from personal experience, that people just want to pretend it didn't happen. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to deal with it. They just want to go on with their life as though it never happened. And that can be something that people do for many years, right? However, the longer the delay, the more difficult recovery can be, right? And so the sooner we can get people connected to resources, the better their later outcomes may be. Okay, especially if it's a child. Okay, but especially if it's anyone. And so some self help strategies are going to depend on that person. Like, what are some things I like to ask people? So, what are some things that make you feel better? What are some things that make you feel safe? What are things that make you feel good right now? You know? And you can also get the person out of their regular surrounding if they're ready for something like that. Being able to go out in nature is very healing, very therapeutic, unless it's triggering, right? Because we don't know what happened and where and all the things. But in general, generally speaking, getting out in nature gives your brain something else to look at and to think about. Fresh air and sunshine is so good for your mood. And so, as often as a person can do that, finding books that may deal with their situation, podcasts, things to listen to, send them this video, right? Getting in a support group is really helpful because other people that have experienced the same thing can maybe say things that you couldn't say. Yeah.
Wow. So I thank you. I really do thank you for that, man.
Yeah.
It really shows the depth of your knowledge and your wisdom and your capacity
The Lord.
in doing all of this. It is the Lord, but I tell you what, you know, I like it when people say it is the Lord, but
Yeah.
I tell you what, the Lord uses what you give him, right?
Amen. That's true. That's true.
So it's important for you to say, yes, it's the Lord, but I am willing and I have prepared myself to
Mm,
be able to do this. In other words, you have come into the kingdom. Set off
that's
for me
good.
for
That's
such a
good.
time as this.
Oh,
And
that's
so
good.
what you're saying, you know, that this person who said, "Listen, my friend experienced this weekend." One of the things about that, when the friend is going through crisis, the person who is very, very, very close to them can't think logically at that point.
Mm, it's
Their
true.
emotions are also wrapped up in that, and sometimes they feel helpless and hopeless. So I want to applaud that the friend who would even put
Mhm. Yes.
this this information out there, and just to say, well, listen, um, under these conditions, you always do the very best you can. Monday morning quarterback always look like, man, I coulda, woulda, shoulda, wisha. Well, you can't always do that. So I just want to say to this person, you know, you dealt with it enough to be able to bring it here, and Mia just gave you some really really good pieces of information on how to do this. And Mia, you're good. I'm going to tell you that you're very, 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 very well versed in this what you're doing here. Um,
That means a lot coming from you, Dr. Kid. So I will absorb it and take it in.
yeah, you
Yeah.
know, but uh, but if I don't tell you this, okay, if I don't tell you this, then I'm not helping you to grow.
Thank you.
The good book says, I must decrease so that you might increase.
Mm-hmm.
And if I don't help you to increase, I am going to fulfill one of the worst statements on the planet, which is that, and I heard it, I hope I'm saying it the right way. They're saying that the most educated plot of land on the planet just happens to be a cemetery where
Mm.
people went to their graves without sharing things with other people that might have helped them not to have an early demise. You understand what I'm saying? So,
Yes.
so, so like you, oh man, I just pour into you like that. Just keep pouring, because I think you got it, and I just want to see you just become the kind of the person that can help people to get to where they need to get to, even when they think that's not where they need to get to. You
Yeah.
understand? So this is some really really good stuff.
I
You
wanted.
go
Oh,
ahead,
sorry.
go on.
Well, okay, sure. And let me know. I don't know if this is where you wanted to go, but
I'm
I was
following
just
you. Go ahead.
okay. I was just thinking back to that question that you asked me, and that was, and oh man, my computer. You asked me about emotionally, like dealing with the emotions of that event. How has that been to deal with the emotions? And Dr. Kit, may I just jump down and plug in my computer? I thought it
Yeah,
was. Give me just 1 second.
yeah. So that was no doubt that was a very 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 good uh, thought that it evoked in you. And so now, because it evokes something in you, I'm just so glad that you take the challenge of um, of of dealing with that, of course, in your own way. So, she's for those of you that are watching, she's just off here for a moment, just dealing with some technical difficulties. These things happen, but praise the Lord, technical difficulties has been overcome, and
Yeah.
me back on in. Now, go
Hi,
ahead.
girl. Okay, yes, I'm so sorry for that. And it's so funny. I thought I did it all, but emotionally,
Well, hold on before you
sure.
go on.
Yes.
You see what just happened?
Mm-hmm.
That is life in its raw.
Yes.
How you deal with that just happened,
Mhm.
okay, just happens to do with how you see your picture of yourself.
Ooh, that's good. That's good.
That's what I'm saying here, because
Yeah.
your picture of yourself here is what you act out, and the way you act out will tell the story of how comfortable you are with the picture of yourself. It is not,
Ooh,
because you're an artist. You're always painting and painting and painting and painting. For me, I'm going to say this real quick.
yeah.
When you go like that picture behind you right there,
Mm-hmm.
you know that picture is not finished.
Mm.
The artist just stopped painting. Because
Oh,
if the
I
artist
hear
were to come by and look at it and look and say, well, man, I can't believe I missed that little piece. I should have done this and went and got the brush. It would be a totally new picture.
that's
It's
true.
not an addition, addendum to, be a whole new picture. Okay. And that's what happens to you every day when you are not a finished product. Anyway, go ahead. I just wanted to throw
Mm.
that.
I love that. I love that. I'm glad that this is recorded so I can go back and like just collect the nuggets because that's powerful. Um, and I want to say that like it made me think about emotionally.
Yeah.
I had to take off expectations of my culture and
Mm,
expectations of myself because my culture said as a black woman, no matter what happens to you, I'm southern, no matter what happens to you, you don't cry, you don't flinch, you just keep it moving and everything's going to be all right. But that was not the experience that I was having with those traumas. I felt like I could not just keep it moving. In fact, I felt like they consumed me. The more I tried to just, wipe the sweat and keep it moving, the more the tears flowed, the more my actions became uncontrollable,
mhm.
right? To the point of paranoia, right? And so I would say to anyone watching, just like the saying says, the longer the delay, the more difficult recovery can be. You
Oh,
know, the sooner that we can actually start to address what has happened to us or what's going on, not from what our culture says we should do, how our culture says we should do it, but just even how God says we should do it, like he invites us to ask questions. When I think about John the Baptist, Mary and Martha, they were the ones who were saying, if you had been here, Lord, my brother would not have died. They
right.
didn't make that pretty. They asked hard questions of God. They allowed their emotion to show. They allowed themselves to be in pain. And I feel that those watching, allow your friend who's just been through this traumatic situation, allow them to know that it's okay to not be okay. You don't have to act like this isn't bothering you. You can break down. You Just like you can break down, you can be rebuilt.
Thank you for that. And they can become human because of
Yes.
Jesus do. The shortest verse in the Bible, 2 words. Jesus what?
Jesus.
Wept.
Yes.
So it's not that God was usually because I'm God, I'm one with my Father. I can't be touched with the feelings of the infirmities of my people. Became human. His humanity came out, and he wept. But Mary and Martha, listen, Martha. If I had come when you wanted to, look at all the lessons that you would not have learned, and all these other
Woo!
would not have learned if I came at that point. But the point here is I came, but I was with you even through all of that stuff. I was with
See,
you.
that's powerful. And see, that's what makes me a believer. For the person who asked, that was 65240.
Yeah,
Like, this is what makes me a believer, because when I'm reading the Bible for myself, I'm seeing that. I'm seeing the emotions of kings and servants and people. I'm
yeah,
seeing the emotions of God, and it makes me, the culture, I feel, even of the United States, is like, pull yourself up by your bootstraps and be strong. But in the Bible, people were human, and that is on display, including our God. His humanness is on display.
yeah. So, yeah, it certainly was. So, 6-5 says that, okay, the people in California need to hear that message analogy about rebuilding after being burnt down. I thank you for that. Now, how would you talk about, because this might be going into, how did you? And I thank you for that 6-5 beautiful question, because I
Hmm.
think it is so analogous to what our guest is going through. How did you rebuild after, metaphorically, your life was burned down when you were abused? Because
Yeah.
they didn't set you on fire, but the pain was real. You
Okay.
understand what I'm saying here? So, but and you rebuilt yourself. So, what would you tell those people in California now? Say, hey, listen, go ahead.
My first thing would say that healing is a journey.
Right. Okay.
Even once your house gets rebuilt or you move to a new place, you still have that experience that you've gone to. I'm still rebuilding, because the past, and I wonder what you would say about this, Dr. Kit. I feel that, for instance, forgiveness, one of the biggest myths that people have surrounding the healing journey is what forgiveness is supposed to look like. I find that I have to forgive the people that hurt me or hurt my sister every time I'm with my daughters and I become nervous that somebody's going to harm them, depending on what's going on. I have to forgive because we don't understand that those choices that we make are long range, and I don't know, you think about that. I don't know if that's still a part of my personal healing journey that I need to learn, but like even the way I interact with men and women to this day, there's still things that I'm healing from. I'm very careful about how I am around people, and that's just a part of, because now I have I hate to call it this, but a sixth sense that I didn't ask for. You know what I mean? I have how God said he didn't want them to know about good and evil in the way they learned it,
Mm-hmm.
but they did. They did. And so I've had to learn. I've learned something about human nature and about people. You know what I mean? Once you learn something, you don't necessarily unlearn it. I feel that in my healing journey, I'm learning how to manage it, and I get better and better at it as I get more tools.
Mm-hmm.
But I have not arrived.
Right.
You know?
Right. I'm going to start out with something you just said, which I'm a big proponent of. People will say, "Well, we unlearn." Well, we don't unlearn.
Right.
We really can't. We cannot unlearn. We
Right.
might, we might forget certain things, but
Sure.
we don't unlearn certain things. The reason why certain things are not prominent in our minds is because they're down in our subconscious. And what
Right.
happens here is that it can sink deeper into our subconscious when newer information that makes sense to us moving through our growth process, the growth canal, okay, takes precedence over those things. But I will guarantee you, if something happens and you see a little girl that looks like you, talk like you, do everything like you, go, oh my goodness, this little girl remind me of my baby picture. All of those things which you thought you unlearned, they did not come back. They are just sitting there, atrophying in your mind just for something to come and take it and take a hold of it, and
Yeah.
bring it back to you. You understand? So yeah. When you're going through some of those things that you're going through, okay, if you try to just put it away,
Mm-hmm.
you try to put it away, what will happen here is this: it will become a part of your coping mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
And that thing that you really want to put away because it is so painful, okay, you will not learn to be the person you can
Yeah.
become
I love.
until you get a hold of doing this thing, accepting the fact that it happened.
Yes.
But here is the key: accepting the fact that it happened. Here is the key: you don't have to like everything that you accept. And I'm going to go further and say, the fact that you are aware of something, it means that you have already accepted it to be true.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love that.
But you don't have to like it. And I think some people, when they say, listen, I can't accept that. Yes, you are. You're talking about it, therefore you accept the reality of this thing, right?
Right. Right.
you know so for you, going through what you went through, it made it, it was not pretty, but you but not to
Yeah.
accept, and I'm not saying that you did that, but for anybody else who say, I'm not to accept, I'm trying to get away from this. Well, y- you know don't get away from it. Please don't get away from it, because
Ooh.
because if you try to get away from something, some people would say, "Oh, just drop it, just drop it, just forget about it, forget about it." No, no. I don't subscribe to that. What I subscribe to is this: that if I try to take the easy way out of dropping something, forget about it, okay? Then it's only because I am not strong enough to work it through, and it's
At this time. Hmm.
it's time. And so what you need to do is to talk about it, get used to building your internal strength, your internal fortitude, so you can talk about it. Because if you don't talk about it, here's what you're going to do: you're going to act it out.
Ooh, and ooh, this is like this is triggering so many things for me. May I jump in with what you're saying?
Go right ahead.
Come on. Okay, so what I hear you talking about, I hear you talking about neuroplasticity. I hear you talking about the different pathways in the brain, right? And
Hmm.
how some of them go to sleep or go dormant, right? So like that trauma pathway, right? When something happens to a person, and I hear you when I'm listening to you, it makes me think about tools and strategies on how we can help ourselves to get to a place where we can deal with things, right? So that friend that is unfortunately, experienced this horrific situation,
Hmm.
I think about the power of understanding the brain and understanding that when trauma happens, your limbic brain, right? And I'm pointing to the back because it's kind of like your limbic brain versus your prefrontal cortex, right? And so, one of the things that has been helping me is understanding when I'm triggered, when I smell that thing or I see that thing that triggers me, that takes me back to that place of trauma,
Hmm.
understand that it's my limbic brain, that fight or flight brain, that is being activated. Okay. And that limbic brain cannot be calmed down just by talking to it. Prefrontal cortex, which makes decisions, right? The decision center, that limbic brain actually has to be calmed down somatically with things like you hear it talked about a lot, grounding techniques. Now there are grounding techniques, right, that are not of God. They are not biblical. They are not going to lead into a good place. But then there are other things that we can do because we're fearfully and wonderfully made, right? So what we smell, if I'm smelling something that's triggering me, and you talked about it, reframing. I can smell something different. How can I have something soft and cuddly, or something cold, or something, that just gets my brain to calm down, the limbic brain to calm down, that primal brain to calm down, so that I can access what my prefrontal cortex is trying to say, or trying to tell me, or trying to alert me that, hey, danger is actually over. Let's start to heal from this. That's what I'm hearing you say. And that was super helpful for me because, may I say this, a person, if you've gone into a forest 3,000 steps, you're not getting out of the forest in 5 steps. You're 3,000 steps in.
Yes.
You've got to come out the amount, unless there's a shortcut, but it's
Mhm.
probably not 3 steps out. And I think a lot of times those of us who have experienced trauma, we want out in 3 steps. Let me get 3 sessions and I'm good. you know,
Yeah.
three meetings, three therapy sessions and I'm good. But
Yeah.
a lot of times it may take more than that. And it may take more than just therapy, but learning how to calm down the different aspects of our body and our brain that are affected.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That was beautiful. Oh, LNG, just like physical scars are present when a wound is healed, emotional scars remain to remind us of our journey and keep us safe. What
Yeah.
what, what do you think?
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I think if we let it, because
Yeah,
sometimes the scars maybe could we allow it to take us back to a place where we weren't healed. But I love the way that LNG put it. I think that's beautiful.
yeah. And so, and again, we got to, I would suggest that if it happened to you,
Yeah.
find a way to deal with the reality of the fact that it happened to run from it. Okay, you will run into triggers that will come to you at the most inopportune times, and You're not sure how you're going to behave under those circumstances, and what kind of a support system you will have in place
Love
to
that.
support you when you're going through this at that time, at that place, you know, around certain people who may look at you and say, who may look at you and go, huh, her behavior that she's acting out is triggering mine. And then they act out, which triggers somebody. And now we have a chain reaction of triggers just going on through, and everybody's going through something. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, yes, that's so true.
And this is what I'm saying. When these things happen, don't just drop things. Don't just let it go. Don't just forget about it. What you really need to do is to spend some time with yourself in that lonely, dark, quiet place. You know, in that place. Because it is when you are alone that some of the greatest fears on the planet will come to you. But when you're listening to music, you have a distraction. You understand what I'm saying? Ian?
Yes,
You,
sir. Yes.
so, so we shouldn't be afraid of those parts of ourselves that take us to that place. Now, we got to be careful. I'm not saying just go into it like charging like a trooper, because sometimes it takes us there. But if we're not ready to go there, we might need to say, listen, go to someone and say, listen, I would like to talk about this thing here that happened to me, but I can't do it by myself. Would
Mhm.
you mind? Would you mind talking to me? And let the other person know, say to the other person, I'm going to be telling you some stuff. But if what I'm saying is going to trigger you, please let us stop, because you don't want your working through to
Yeah.
become the trigger to somebody else. You,
Ooh, I
you,
love that. I
you
love
understand,
that.
you understand
I
what I'm
love
saying?
that.
That
Hmm.
and because if you don't say that at the point when you are very deep and comfortable in that little journey, if they say, whoa, 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 you may feel what? You could feel rejected, and that might bring up some rejection that you've had in the past that never happened. You may feel that somebody's not being available to you. It can bring that up. So, there's just a lot of dynamics and go back and forth between people like that.
I love what you're saying because it sounds like what you're saying is that people should look into a friend or a confidant, someone that they can trust, that they may be able to share their story with, and see if it's a safe place. I love that, and I love that I hear you also saying make sure that person is the right person, or make sure that that person is able, because we do have friends, but
Mhm.
all of them are not able to
Right,
hear
right.
what we've experienced, what we've gone through, the details of it. They may not know how to deal with it, and they may not treat it with the care and importance that's needed. And I've had people come to me and say, I unburden myself, and the person started laughing, or they stopped talking to me and didn't take my calls. And so I love what you're saying. It is so important to be careful who we decide to share with, and that person is non-judgmental, and
Right.
that person is someone that it's not going to now be all over the world what I told them. I see it on TikTok, whatever the case
Yeah.
may be.
So that person is, and you can't always know, but as much as you can know, you pray and everything else, but as much as you can know, try to find a person who's pretty solid, you know,
Yeah.
who and some look solid, but they're really not, because they have a mask, they have this facade, and I don't want people to think I'm crazy. So I have this wonderful mask. It has become a part of myself. I, becomes like a what's that Mastercard? I never leave home without it.
Was it? Is that? Look, you see, I don't have one. I don't know which one it is.
It's Mastercard, whatever it is. I
Is
never,
it American Express? I don't know. I
you
have to
know,
Google.
yeah, and so it becomes a part of you. Okay, you eat with it, sleep with it. I mean everything, and then and then there's that person under there, but you can't get to that person over there, and that can become the life of a lot of people when you
Yeah.
just drop things, when you just leave things alone, when you just we've got to work things through like we do at the gym. We work it through, and we go through the pain, and we have a coach, and we have people who are there to help us, to spot us when things get heavy. We need emotional spotters. We
Yes,
really
I love that.
need emotional spotters. So when the weight get heavy, they say, listen, I'm going to help you. I'm not going to take the whole thing, but I will help you to go through the ebbs and flows, the repetitions that you need to get through so you can get stronger. This is it. We,
Ooh, I
we,
love
we
because
really,
when oh sorry.
no, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm
And
just thinking, I was hoping, and I don't know, Matt, let me ask you this because what do you think an emotional spotter, what qualities would an emotional spotter have for those of us looking on? We may have therapists, we may not. I know an emotional spotter that I use is a therapist, or a coach, right? But there are people in our lives that can be those emotional spotters. So what are their qualities, Dr. Kit? Like, how do we know, hey, this person is a good candidate, possibly, and they're not just a shadow person?
okay, let me tell you this. Let me tell you this, me. And before I tell you this, we're gonna have to shut it down here in a minute. But
Oh, sure, yeah,
you, no,
sure.
no, 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 no. Hear me. But you did not talk about going overseas to do those things, sleeping on the floor. You didn't talk about the business that you have. You didn't talk about any of those things. Okay, but I need you to come back at some
Okay.
point and talk about those things. I really do. Emotional spotter.
Yeah.
Well, here's what it is. Because I've been working out in the gym pretty much all my life.
Wow. Amen.
Yeah. But here is how I deal with my spotters. If I don't feel safe, I can't trust.
Hmm.
People think you can just trust. No, no, no. The precursor to trusting is you have to feel safe. So when I'm laying on the bench and I got this weight and I'm pushing up and I need that spotter to be there for me, that spotter has my interest here, and they will do nothing.
Hmm.
They will do nothing to harm me. Now, let me say that. Oh, the person who spots John over there, ah, John and that spotter, they got a really good relationship. My spotter that I'm asking for spot me, I'm taking a chance because we don't have that connection where he will do everything to make sure that the weight don't fall on my neck and kill me. So when you ask how do we know, the best thing I can tell you is make sure that the person, except if it's an emergency and you just got to just make sure that you have a spotter that is at one with you.
Hmm.
You hear what I just said? That is
Hmm.
at one with you. It's like Adam and Eve. Adam said, she is bone of my bone. That's the
Yeah.
kind of relationship you need to have when you are looking for an emotional spotter, one that will almost adopt everything about you into their lives to the degree that they can without triggering themselves or falling apart. That's how you do that. So it's not like this person is a good person. No, we don't know that. This person is good for you because of the dynamics between the interpersonal relationship between you and this other person.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about. So
Yeah.
those are the kind of thing that I would say. So I don't know that there is a general quality. I'm going to say, it's this person that you have this wonderful interpersonal connection with, and they take themselves and you as inseparable. They're like this. Both of you
Yeah.
are like this. You understand what I'm saying? Ed?
Yeah, I do. It sounds like my husband. I was like, oh, thank you, Lord. I pray that everyone watching this show will have an emotional spotter. That God, if you don't
Yes.
have one, that God will bless you
It
to
is.
identify one. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
identify one. No, me, I really do thank you. But when I say that yes, please come back again.
Thanks, Ronnie. Thank you.
So now, so now you know that what you've been saying. And we didn't get much into your experience. It was kind of this is what happened, and you don't have to get into that. But you have so much, Dr. Kidd. You hit again another great guest. Thank you so very much. Thank you. She is amazing. Listen, she's so good. I hope she will grace me by
Oh,
coming back again. This information has
I,
been great, and
it would be
so
my honor to come back.
yeah. Okay. Well. sharing yourself, Dr. Kid. We are going to make it happen. And I know you're busy, but we're gonna get you back on here. And by that time, you kind of know how it is. You know that I get a little bit crazy sometimes. Today you got to see the other side of me.
Okay, nice. Praise God.
you know but I really do thank you. We're going to pull you back in the back room there for a minute while I just go ahead and close this out. Is there any one thing that you would like to tell people, how to get in touch with you? Your email address, whatever it is. And we're going to get you back to part two.
Absolutely. I do want to say really fast, a quick one that is helpful for the brain when you don't have that person that you can identify is journaling. And that
Yeah.
can be done in writing or, drawing pictures. I like to do both. But people can reach me if they're interested in taking any of the courses that we offer through painunwasted.org. That's our website. So you can contact us through that. I love training, teaching, all things courses. And so that's what we do. And so, thank you so much for having me on here, Dr. Kidd. It's been a blessing, and I learned a lot. And I'm going to be note taking like crazy once we shut it down. So, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, listen. I'm just hoping that this thing will go crazy, because I think the whole world just need to hear you, and people need to be calling you and texting you, emailing you, say, hey, listen, can you come and talk to can you come and talk to us? Can you come and do this? I really do think that you have the kind of personality for that. But greater than that, or equally as good as that, you have the quality of information, and your delivery is unquestionable. So yeah, you're coming back. And if you say no, I'm going to find your house.
I'm saying yes already. Look, I'm like, thank you for having me back. It's an honor
Okay.
to come back here. Yes.
All right. Thank you so much. All right. Okay. Can't wait for part two. Okay. You're going to get it. You're going to get it. Thank you so much, all of you that's out there listening. What a great guest. I almost said a great show. No, what a great guest. This young lady, she is amazing, and I cannot wait to get her back on here if I can break through the business of her schedule and her family that needs her so much, and all the other things that she's doing. She is amazing, and I just want to thank the Lord for her. She's a woman of faith. She's a woman of knowledge. She's a woman of experience. She's all of those things wrapped up in one very neat package, Mia Powell. She was here. We want to get her back as soon as possible, so that the stuff that she laid down on us today won't atrophy in our minds. It won't stay there and get old. But when we get her back soon, we can have a better connection moving through the emotional growth canal. One of the things, that she said was try to get people, as many people as possible. Get yourself an emotional spotter. Get that emotional spotter. Please get that emotional spotter. It will do you so much good. You will never have to carry the load alone. Like Jesus Christ is the greatest spotter on the planet. He said, you never have to bear your burdens alone when you're with him. So why should we not use that as a paradigm, an example of how we need to have a emotional spotter? But Jesus, we're safe with him. We can trust him. He'll never leave us. He'll never forsake us. Go get yourself an emotional spotter, okay? We're going to talk about that. As a matter of fact, I'm going to keep asking from week to week, did you get an emotional spotter? And then maybe some of you out there that's on there from week to week who never say anything, but you put some really good things out there. Maybe you can come on and say, hey, listen, I got an emotional spotter, and this is what life is like for me right now, okay? So I want to thank you. Listen, so here's what I want you to do. Okay, I want you to like, follow, share, and subscribe. Please do that. Especially, they're all good, but I want you to like, follow, share, and subscribe. This young lady is going very far. She's got a lot of stuff. I want to see her move through and just blow the world up like that. If I could, I don't mean literally, but with stuff like that. So like, follow, share, and subscribe. And again, if we would love to have you to become a part of this program, Okay, and just tell your story. Just be so candid, like she is. Don't worry about people, because then you don't have to carry all of this by yourself. And we become your emotional spotting village. We created a village of spotters. Okay, so you don't have to carry all this thing by yourself. We can work through the shame, but if you live in the valley of shame, you never come out and say, "Hey, listen, I accept who I am. I'm going to do what I need to do." Okay, so thank you all so much. All right. So try to be a part of this show. drkidspeaks@gmail.com. Hope to see you. Be blessed. God bless. See you on next week. Bye bye now.